I want to bring out one of my favorite rockin' bands that have been around for a long time. We play them like crazy on Sirius, and Did We Love Them on MTV back in the day. Hell yes, ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for 38 Special. Straight to the question. Don Barnes, ladies and gentlemen. Bobby Katz. Gary Moffett. Barry Dunaway. You guys mixed it up on me. It's Gary, Jerry, and Barry, which is fun. Bee Gees.
We need a Harry and a Larry and we'll be all set.
Well, hey guys, welcome. Oh yes, thank
you. Sorry.
Enough of that. All right. So, I call you wild-eyed Southern boys because I'm a Southern boy myself.
Oh yeah, Birmingham.
Yeah, Birmingham, Alabama. You guys didn't have who lives in Florida? Anybody still?
All these guys.
So you just drove over to Cape Canaveral?
They did.
On a day you ain't watching the rockets blast off? You did? Yeah. I heard it was off midnight. Anybody see it from the ocean? It's foggy. Really? You live next door to the rockets blasting off? Oh, that's a heck of a house there. If I was a real estate agent, I'd go, now that's a location. And you're living where? Not
Atlanta.
Okay. And what's
I was telling Alan, we talked 43 years ago on MTV, and I remember complaining about the fact that melody was missing in music and where it was going, and I was right. 43 years ago.
I mean, 43 years ago, you predicted that music would be where it is.
And I'm only 45, so.
Sucking his thumb and being all prescient. Well, you know, music was not in the toilet at the turn of the decade, the 80s. The music business was, you know, and MTV came along and revived it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Melody was alive and well. What were you thinking?
We'd only bought stock back then. You know?
Yeah.
I was telling the story. They had no content. We were one of the first videos, the first day of MTV.
Which one again? It was number
13.
It was in the first one.
Lucky 13.
Yeah, that's right.
But they had no content, and they would send their own camera crews out and to film live shows. And they came out to Denver, and the guy was saying, you know, this is cable company, the cable channel is just debuting, and can we film some songs? We were like, oh, whatever, you know. So I remember the guy held up a card. He wanted me to do a promo for it, and said, you'll never hear music the same way again. And I thought it was such an odd slogan, you know. And I was telling Alan, I wish I'd have bought stock back then, 43 years ago, whatever. So, but the iconic rocket taking off was true to form, wasn't it? Yeah, everybody's
She
career.
was living right next door to him.
Yeah.
I bet that's MTV. I hope Mark Goodman's on that rocket.
Yeah, he told me you can't get no love around these guys, you know.
We're a family, right? You guys know
That's
what
right,
family's
absolutely.
about. I mean, come on. Well, it's a pleasure to have all of you. Them that have been there in the beginning, near the beginning, them that just got picked up at the dock at Cape Canaveral. We have had some bands on the boat that is like, well, you're an original member, but who are these jokers? I don't really know.
Well, some of the new guys here have been 35 years, so, you know.
Hardly new, yeah.
Yeah.
How does it feel to be the new guy 35 years in the band? Anybody take that question?
37.
Oh, 30.
And I'm still the new guy.
Yes, kind of. Well, that's an interesting question. We might get into it, we might not, but let's talk about those early years, and I guess we'll just stay in the 80s. You started in the 60s, really, with Ronnie and Donnie, and the band morphed, and you got into the band. I forget when it was, 80s?
It was 1974. We were broke-ass guys with day jobs, you know. So.
Never heard that story before.
Yeah, you know, that's how. So you find a shack somewhere to rehearse because you know you get the cops calling on you for playing in somebody's garage. So we drove around and we would pile in a car at night and we found some auto parts place was abandoned with no running water but just electricity. You know, so. Well, I should continue telling. That's where the name came from. Is that we fortified the windows and the doors of this place, and the front door, when we were done with it, was like a vault door with rebar and 2x4s, and we had a big tractor chain going through the cinder block with a big padlock.
For a reason, you were living.
Well, it was out in the middle of nowhere. We had
what part of Florida again? It was Jacksonville.
North of Jacksonville.
Yeah. A tough town.
And yes. Either you end up driving a truck or going to prison. I don't know.
Becoming a band.
I shouldn't say there's probably a lot of Jacksonvillians. All right. So we, as irresponsible as we were, we lost the key to the big lock that opened the big door. So we had to end up, we drive out after day jobs and climb up this drain pipe and get up in this window. It looked like it was boarded up, but it was on hinges. So we would open the hinge to climb down and rehearse. We were there for about two months, and the sound pressure was like 120 dB in this place. And we stopped the song, and we could hear banging on the doors. I guess all the sheriffs and the constables from the area thought there was a wild party going on or something. You know? And so they were banging bullhorns out and everything. We stopped and yelled through the door that we didn't have a key to the lock. We'd have to climb out there. And one of the cops, I guess, was like the old West days. He was going to shoot the lock off, and he said something about, "I got a 38 special, I got to do the thing." So,
like Barney Fife. Barney had one bullet, right?
One bullet.
Bam! I missed it. Damn it.
Yeah, we didn't have a name for the band, and we had a first club gig down in Gainesville, and we said, we'll just call it 38 Special for now, and we'll just come up with something better later, and we never did.
Man, that is like a duct tape and a DIYer at your house. Like, I'll just duct tape it for right now.
Yeah.
Stay on. 20 years later,
It still works.
sell the house. It's duct tape. Well, it became 38 Special. And I'd love to talk about that first moment though when you guys did that video. We've heard these stories from, I was saying, Kevin Cronin from REO and everybody else, but particularly American bands, Western bands lived and died on the road. The UK, they were used to TV and Top of the Pops and videos and the whole image beyond just being on stage. But American bands are playing concerts in the late 70s, early 80s, REO and Styx and Journey and all that. People see them, from the nosebleed seats as a little dot on the stage. They walk to the bus after the show, incognito, no problem, hit the hotel, not a big deal. And then they have a video on MTV, and
Right.
You can't do that anymore. That's the story.
Well, I was telling Alan, when you see your weatherman one time a day, every day, you can recognize him in a grocery store. You see him. It was eight times a day the video was played, so everywhere I'd go, "What are you doing here?" It's like, well, I'm in getting groceries here. We weren't ready for prime time anyway. We had hair down to here. We were like bridge trolls, we all we told Bon Jovi, they came up, they were like 10 years younger, and it's like, you guys got the cute factory. You got everything going for you. We didn't have that. So.
You had your pajamas and your slippers on. And your chaw coming out of a white t-shirt. And your Cheetos. Shit, we're a rock band on him. When did it dawn on you, or did someone tap on you, like a woman in your life or a manager said, you got to shape up, because people know.
Oh yeah, we eventually had to get more, cleaned up.
Was it quick? Was it that sort of
No,
week or two into the video airing on MTV and all of a sudden they saw it?
We had a manager that would give us, put us with stylists. And of course, these people, they don't know who we are, where we came from. So they were putting clothes on us, and they would spray paint these new jackets to make them look old and all that. So we started, doing these, trying to be actors in videos. And we like ixnay on the acting videos. Just film us live, you would do it. But what's funny, years later, we were in Panama City, Panama, in a baseball stadium with Journey and Cheap Trick. And the song Teacher, Teacher, for some reason, MTV was all over it was a song from a movie, but that whole stadium stood up and sang every word to Teacher, Teacher. We were looking at each other like, what did we do? What happened?
Journey and Cheap Trick's manager says, never again is 38 Special coming on the road with us.
Yeah. No, we were actually all those guys from the 80s. We were all trying to be competitive with each other and kick each other's ass, and all that. And now we're all friends now because we actually survived. We actually.
That is the same story. Everybody has said that. Yes. The funny thing about MTV, and I don't want to go on just about MTV, but why not? All the bands were watching each other.
Oh, yeah.
Your hotel room on a tour, and you were seeing what 38 Special was up against. Man, we got to get a better video than. I don't know if we're going to compete with Duran Duran. We weren't that pretty.
And it was the hairstyles. Now YouTube still keeps those hairstyles current, so you look back and you're cringing at all the hair. Tommy Shaw from Styx, he had a little too much to drink one night. He said, man, he said, I took some scissors and I cut my bang straight out. So you still see him on YouTube, and he's cringing all the time. Yeah. When do you get a stylist?
Nobody gave Michael Bolton the note until too late. Thank God, finally. Party in the back, no longer cool.
Jerry Riggs. Now he's been.
No offense. Cool on you, dude. But
what happened?
But you got a big giant head of hair. You too, man.
Yeah.
But back in the early '80s, my hair was about down to here.
Yeah.
We'll talk about I want to talk maybe in order when 37 years ago. What were you doing when you got a call or it was an audition? I can't remember how you came into the band.
I'm a new guy. I've been there this is my 6th year for the new guy.
Let me tell you. First of all, Jerry is a master guitarist, and he had his own record deals back in the '80s. He did soundtracks for movies, and the movie Heavy Metal starts off with Radar Rider, and so I told Jerry, I said, man, we were so competitive with everybody coming out because everybody's trying to get that little space in front of you, sharp elbows, And I told Jerry, I said, we didn't like you back then. Because he was this hotshot guitar player with a killer band, and we were like, wait a minute, that's too much.
Yeah, but I mean, we all lived in Atlanta at the time. You lived in Atlanta,
Yeah.
I lived in Atlanta, and I always used to love 38 Special, and then I got a call about 6 years ago from Don. He said, you want to come out and play with some old people? And I said, hey, man, I'm right. That's me right there. Let's go.
Well, let me tell you. Can I tell you the story, Jerry? I just tell you.
Please.
Yeah, Jerry was destined for greatness, and he had an unfortunate thing with one of his sons needed heart surgery, several of them after he was born. And Jerry, the man that he is, took his responsibilities and he went and worked for the post office, and he was a mailman all these years, 23 years? 25.
Thank you for your service.
And everybody there at the dock at the post office, no one knew what an absolute virtuoso this guy is. I mean, he tuck his hair in his hat, deliver the mail, and go back, go home. And so when I called him, I said, Jerry, we had done some personal appearances, corporate things, private things, and I said, Jerry, you still delivering mail? He said, yes, I am. I said, you ever thought about an early retirement? He said, I could. So the funniest part about this is that they had a retirement party for him in January. He had taken the job. We were rehearsing and everything, and they had a little party for him. I said, Jerry, so, what are you going to do now that you're retired? You play golf or anything? And he said, well, actually, I'm going to go play with 38 Special. And he said, no, you're not. And they said, no, you're not. They said, no, you're not.
So you guys out there don't park in front of your mailbox.
Don't let your dog bite the mailman in the ass either. So
That's right.
Be somebody famous. That's a funny
Chase
scenario. He's got a pension, right?
Absolutely.
And you're sitting there desperately taking every gig you can take. And I don't need it.
Yeah, he's
you
back
know?
there.
Man, I don't need your money. I will play for the right reason, which was the fun of it.
The fun of it.
So your
absolutely.
hobby in your retirement was getting into 38 Special.
Well, he deserved it. Anybody?
Can you think of a better retirement?
It's a retirement party every night.
Wait, but Willie Nelson just turned 90. He's still out there touring. So we can still do it.
You know, as I said to the crowd last night, I didn't mean it. Are we still doing this thing? You know, how much longer can we go? And it appears a lot longer. Willie's still around. That's a little daunting, is it not? Well, let's go down the line. You came into the band when? You came in 6
Barry?
years ago.
Yeah.
2011.
Not a trivia question. You should know this.
Actually, I subbed for LJ in 2011 when he had knee surgery. And I was supposed to do a few weeks worth of work. So I busted and learned an hour and a half worth of music, came out and did one show. And I guess I did too good because LJ came back the next week and didn't do his rehab or anything.
Yeah,
So-
no rehab.
Oh, crap. So, 2 years later, my dad was in hospice and he had just slipped into, he wasn't there anymore. And all my family was in there and everybody was crying and my phone went off and it was silent, but it said Don Barnes. So I go, holy shit, what's Don Barnes doing? So
It's a prank.
after everybody got over the shock, I went outside with my wife and I listened to the phone. It says, hey, young man, this is Don Barnes from 38 Special. Would you be interested in coming out and doing some shows with us? And there you have it.
And you just swipe right, got rid of that piece of crap message, right?
So,
Hell's this prankster here.
yeah.
Well, I told him that he was, he said, you were on a real short list, like real short, like only you. Now, we've done a lot of corporate things, and all Jerry and Barry also, they were, these corporate shows, they have all different kinds of styles of music. 4-hour show. We had,
Well, one year
tell me.
we played with Joe Elliott, from Def Leppard, Billy Ocean.
So that's a lineup. That's a
Scott
big lineup.
Weiland from the Stone Temple Pilots.
Fifth Dimension.
All in one show.
And fifth Dimension, too. I mean,
The Fifth Dimension.
Yeah.
The Fifth Dimension. All in one show.
These guys would learn. The first time I met them, we sat in a hotel room, and we all had little lunchbox amps about this big, and we all practiced the parts. But the drummer would be beating on a telephone book, and we rehearsed in this hotel room. But these guys learned 4 hours of all different kinds of music, you know, Dawn of Aquarius and everything. And so we went out, and they were like effortless. They went out there flawless, did 4 hours, and I thought, geez, I couldn't do that. I did my own four songs, 5 songs, whatever. And so I said, these guys, I gotta get these guys. They'll be able to catch on easily.
Except every now and then it's when the moon comes on.
Yeah,
the
I do go into that every once in a while. Hold on.
And teacher holds on
They're
loose.
too young for.
Where are we? I don't know. Hey, you were the house band sort of though for this big event that night, and you had to learn all of it. Yeah, musicians amaze me the way you. Anybody who's good at what they do, I get. You know, it's not surprising that you can kind of talk through a set list or a song, or I hit the break and then I'll do this, but I don't know how you do it.
I don't know.
Most of the times live for the first time. Is it just magic?
Well, it helps if you enjoy, you know, the artist.
Yeah.
Like I love Joe Elliott and
Oh yeah.
Helps if you
Billy
know the songs.
Ocean, and
Yeah.
you know, I was actually alive when, you know, the Fifth Dimension stuff came out.
Don't tell that part, Jerry.
Yeah.
Oh, we
I was very young though. Very
backed up
very young.
Sebastian Bach many times.
What?
So we backed up Sebastian Bach.
Oh my! Well,
So we know that guy.
loves
He's
Where are you,
fun.
Sebastian?
We love him.
But that's not hard. That's 3 chords. Same song. That's bad. God, he loves that hair, and so do I, man. He competes with you. Sebastian's getting ready right now for the big show tonight, I guarantee.
Just don't pull on mine. It might
Look, there's straight ahead rock and roll and there's straight ahead rock and roll. I think that's why we're looking forward to you guys on the boat. The cool thing about the 80s, and I'll go on about that, is the eclectic nature of the 80s. Primarily as we witnessed it on MTV. You could go from Whitesnake to 38 Special to Howard Jones, and everybody kind of got along in that soup because it was the only game in town. You guys come on a cruise like this and you'll be eating dinner with all sorts of folks here and hanging out.
Absolutely.
Hopefully you won't feel like fish out of water. Fish in the water, I should say.
Yeah, right. But it's been a great career over the years. It's a great job to bring that kind of happiness. We see it every night, singing along, people high-fiving, tears in their eyes, and it gets us a little choked up sometimes. But
Talk about the change of the generations that you see in the faces. This is, everybody talks about how 40 years down the pike, you wonder where your audience is. Is it just the people that were there with you in the beginning, or are they bringing the kids out to look out and see a younger person singing?
We see them all,
Hold on,
all
listen.
different ranges. Yeah, you'd see a group of boys that got the little neighborhood band. They're high-fiving for Hold On Loosely. It was like, dude, you weren't even born then. But the parents raised the kids in the house with the music, and then they had kids, and everybody. And I tell these young guys, because they want to get a record deal, they got a band, and I said, first of all, you got to think you're the best band in the world. You say, I'll ask them, you guys any good? Yeah, we're. I said, no, man, you got to stand up and say, yes, we are that good. But I said, these days, if you absolutely have to do it, but if there's any more stability to fall back on, you probably should do that.
Garage is in yeah, it's not garage. It's easy for you to say, but all us old guys go, you don't get in the business.
It was not
Don't
easy.
crowd me out.
But we had 3 albums that went straight over the cliff, so that shows you right there.
Well, the 80s was pretty heady for you, my God, right? I mean, a lot of people, including Bowie and, so many others, because of MTV, had really heady, commercially successful times in that sweet spot of the 80s. You just had one hit after the next. You were listening to them, thinking one day,
I was.
I'm not going to be a postman, I'm going to be in the band.
Well, I actually had my own band, and we had a record out on Warner Brothers in like 81, I think, which was, I think, maybe the year before MTV started. So we were thinking, oh, this is going to be great, and then MTV hit, and we didn't have a video.
Oh man, I could have filmed it for you. Got my iPhone nowadays, right?
Let's do it.
What was the year? Was it 81?
81 is when it started, so that was a lie you just told. Anyway.
Maybe it came out in 80, I don't know.
Not gonna have
A
that
long
on
time
this
ago. I remember.
Well, let's keep talking about getting into the band. We might as well start with when you were asked to pick up the sticks. And
I joined the band in '97, so this is my 28th
wow.
year.
All right, get it up there.
And before that, I was a porn star.
Yeah. Derringer something? Is that your last name? I don't know. So you decided to go the opposite of the mullet.
Yeah. My brothers used to call it the involuntary mohawk.
Were you ever alternative, or have you always been, short of hair?
One of the most.
You got a lot of hair, you just choose to shave it off.
Yeah, I did, but anyways, one of the most embarrassing things I ever did in my life was get hair extensions at one point. And it was like Chinese water torture getting them taken out.
Can't imagine being like Sebastian Bach.
I know. Looked like Edgar Winter.
Did you know all the songs when you were asked to be in it? And did you have to audition, or did you get the same phone call from Don? Young man,
Well,
get some hair extensions and get in the band.
To be quite honest with you, it's funny because I've been in a ton of cover bands through the years, and 38 was one of those bands that I never covered any of their songs. And here I am 28 years later, but I guess they couldn't find anybody good.
He's still auditioning.
Aruba, here we come. We'll have another tourist for you waiting at the door.
Actually, he's a master. He's an iconic drummer. He was the best drummer in Florida. Bobby suggested it to me. And,
Sorry about that.
You're off at Aruba, too.
like I said, you can't get any love among these guys. But Bobby said, so I said, well, has he got any demos? I talked to him on the phone. I said, you got any demos of you playing him? Just let me hear a little bit of something. He said, I don't know. I probably got a tape of a little drummer boy around here. I said, this is a smart-ass guy. I don't know.
I should have been fired probably 5 or 6 times.
2 weeks in, I said, guys, I'm really sorry.
But you said young performers have to have ego, man. They got to think they're great. Why should I give you my demo of Little Drummer Boy? So how did you, what have you ever made a mistake, by the way, auditioning somebody or giving them too much of a feeling that they were going to... When did the realization hit you? We've hit a dud. No, you didn't feel that way, really? Come on. 37 years ago.
37 years ago, yeah. You know, it's funny, you're Alabama boy, I'm an Arkansas boy. So
Okay.
We're sort of neighbors, yeah.
I think we're ahead of you in the rankings sometimes.
In 1982, well, I begged my mom to let me go to this concert in Barton Coliseum in Little Rock, Arkansas. And the name of that band was 38 Special. So I went to, I saw the band and they weren't that great, but I was like, well, I got to do that someday. So I went off to college and failed miserably, and somehow through a couple of different bands, I ended up in Jacksonville, Florida. And was playing at a club one night, and some of the guys came in. And they were like, hey, you know, you want to come out on the road and be a technician for us? And I'm like, well, I don't know. 2 weeks later, they called me back and said, hey, you know, we'll let you play some keyboards if you come out here. So, I don't know. That's fast forward 5 years, but I've been, since then, 37 years of this guy.
And the first show we ever saw was us. And that's something.
You know, and so again, you're looking out at the new audience, and maybe there's an 18-year-old kid who might just be vying for your gig at some point down the road. Because Bobby's going to say, I'm in charge now, and we're looking for a new kid. Get out the way. Well, 37 years, and you're still in it. They made the right choice, obviously.
I think so. And, you know, what he was talking about earlier, when I first started, we would have somebody call backstage, and they would say, hey, you know, I need to know what time to pick my kid up. And then a few years later, it was somebody else calling, said, hey, I need to know what time to pick my mom up. And now, it's like, hey, I need to know what time to pick my grandparents up.
You just said I'm fired. It's all coming down to you now, my friend. You're the top of the totem pole, the head guy, which sort of is an interesting conversation we're all having now in terms of what's a cover band anymore, what's an original band, how does Foreigner go out when Mick Jones rarely shows up, what does that mean about the audience that loves the music that a band produced? All those years, I still like hearing at least a facsimile, which I got issues with. I want to have an original member or some people that have been in the band for a while, at least, for that to give me the vibe that I'm looking at the real dealio. Does that make sense? I know to everybody.
There's so many mixed emotions through all the years. Let me just say that all the original guys are some of the finest people you could ever go through your youth with, and we were inducted to the Georgia Music Hall of Fame recently, and they all came. Now, each one of them, of course, Donnie Van Zandt, my partner, he's still with the, he owns the trademark with me, and he got inner ear nerve damage after 40 years of all those amps blasting in his ears. So they read him to riot act. They said, if you continue doing what you're doing, you're going to be absolutely stone deaf. And I just told him, I said, your brother Ronnie would be so proud that you went 40 years. And he's still my brother. You know, we've known each other since 14. But I wrote him a letter, and he said, "What are you trying to do? Make me cry?" Because I was putting all this emotions in this letter, all the things we'd gone through, and the dance bands and teen clubs and everything. But you know, he's happy. He's accepted it all, and you know, we still talk just about every other day or so. And so he's loving the fact that the music carried on, and he sends all his well wishes and love to everyone. And
Well done.
each guy took a different path after so long. You live out of a suitcase for 30, 40 years. You're ready for something, you know, different. And so Jack Rondon was one. We had two drummers back then, Jack and Steve Brookins. Jack was the wildest guy in the band. He was a good-looking guy, everything, all things, everything. He was always kind of in search of everything. And what he does today, he travels the world as an evangelist minister and tells his story of his life. And they just finished building an orphanage for young boys in the Philippines. And I said, "Buddy, you're doing a lot prettier work than we're doing." Steve Brookins went into the transportation side of it. He could see the leasing buses and trucks and that kind of stuff. He got into the fleets of trucks and things. So, you know, they took a different path after a while. But I stood up there at the podium at the Hall of Fame and said, first of all, they're all gathered around. I said, you couldn't pick a better group of guys to suffer and starve together than these guys. And we dedicated our trophies to our dads because we had lost them by now. And they were always so supportive. I mean, you know, my dad helped me put my little amp and guitar, playing a birthday party at 14 years old, and loading up his big Mercury, and he was always proud of it. But, you know, he was like, "Son, we aren't going to make any money from this, you know." So it was disappointment and frustrations and all the suffering and everything. But he eventually lined his den with gold and platinum out. He never stopped talking about it. He telling him all the neighbors and bring him in the house and everything. So, anyway, we dedicated, but I was going to tell you that when we first started out, we had a broken down Econoline van and a truck that would break down all the time. So after a month of playing these clubs, these dirt floor clubs and everything, I remember specifically, we all got home after a month of this, and because the truck had broke down, the axle fell out and sparks on the road up in Michigan somewhere. You know.
Didn't you have a chain around that engine and axle?
Right. So we had to pay to get the truck fixed, because if you're going to continue on, you got to get your equipment moving. So at the end of that month, we had $30 a piece, and we started really questioning what are we doing with our future here. But we would have $2.50 a day to eat. And we would sleep late, so we could go spend $2 at the buffet or a McDonald's or something and save 50 cents at the end of the night. And we had a sound guy that would bring a cooler of peanut butter jelly, and we'd buy sandwiches from our sound guy that night. So the funny thing about it is that we finally got this broken down manager. He had a little bit of money in the bank, but he was embarrassed to tell us that our per diem, money per day to eat on, he said, "I can only afford to give you guys $10 a day." $10 a day! We were ecstatic.
Wouldn't it have been a lot more satisfying if Don Barnes from Jacksonville, Florida, had come out here and told the story of being in the hot tub, family home, with the cement pond in the back, and his daddy drove a Mercedes. And he lived a life of leisure and luxury, stumbled into the world of rock and roll. But this is more satisfying. Peanut butter sandwiches for $10.
No.
2 or whatever.
No, my dad was a trained engineer, and he for 40 years, and he just some of these trains were 5 miles long, 5 miles of train. He had 5 engines, and it would take him 2 miles to stop the train. But he took that attitude and he went after it, and I think that's what's influenced me. It's just, you know, keep keep chugging along. Yeah.
Wow, that's a song.
Yeah.
There's a song, 5 Miles of Train. Okay, so can I get in on the copyright?
Yeah.
I'll give this shit away for free, okay? I've given a lot of bands Beatles on little hits for songs and stuff. Help! I know somebody wants to ask a question. If there's no questions, great, because I've been doing such a good job. Thank God you're a storyteller, I gotta tell you. When we get some emo bands up here, you know, they don't want to talk at all. Yes, no, all that. So, is it good? Yes.
I want to add one thing. Barry played with Yngwie Malmsteen all over the world. And you know, some learning background there, the real education.
What did you learn from Yngwie? Okay. How to line those things up. He's in a rock band.
I had to take a Zen approach to it because it was just so damn crazy, you know.
Because Yngwie is out there, he seems to be a head in the clouds kind of guy to me. A genius like that.
It was more of a mental than, you know.
Remember the stories you tell right now are
He's a
getting
very-
captured on videos. Yngwie will see it on TikTok.
I'm just glad I journaled all of this stuff, and there's a lot of stuff out there. You know, the airplane episode when we were going to Japan for the first time, and lots of misbehavior.
And we don't want to hear
Almost
any of those stories.
not getting out of
the music, right?
Almost not getting out of Russia because there were too many bar fights and stuff like that. But
Isn't this behind the music?
What?
Isn't this show behind?
Yeah, it is.
Anyway,
right? That's
You're
the
supposed
next
to
one.
have some stuff.
Should be going to VH1.
Speaking of
Is this the downfall part of the show right now? And then came the end of the success. The band members had no pants and only peanut butter sandwich.
he missed his calling, you know, to be a comedian.
I'm just projecting my own downfall.
Speaking of Japan, we did 3 weeks of it there. We had a great time and a lot of fun. But there's about 300 million people in the size of California, so it's like basically taking all the population and put them in California. And so Tokyo is so huge. There were 6 venues in Tokyo we played. It took the curve of the earth. You could stay up at 25 floors up, and you could see the skyscrapers just going over the edge. Anyway, we played all around these areas, and we had guides that would tell us about the language. And one of the guides said we learned a few Japanese words just to kind of ingratiate the crowd with us. And
Yeah, so did Ario's. But go ahead.
yeah, I told Kevin about that. So one of them was the guy said "Kichi guy" means we're crazy or you're crazy or whatever. So Donnie would be all over the place. And at one point in the show, I said, this is in Tokyo, and I said, Donnie, Kichi guy. And they were like, oh, they're kind of laughing, And they were like, really polite audiences. They were real quiet, and they listen to the song, and then they applaud, and then they're real quiet again, So that happened through Tokyo. Kichi guy worked every night, and I was, using these words. Then we got on the bullet train. It's a 200-mile-an-hour train. He went to Osaka and Nagasaki, all these other ancient cities. And again, so many people through the population that the dialect changes. I didn't know about this. So we got to in Osaka, we got to the lobby, and a lot of the little reporters and radio people, their little autograph books and things. And she's asking me a question. She says, what does music mean to you? And that kind of thing, loaded questions, And she said, how do you like Japanese audience? I said, oh, they're great. We're having a great time. Our people are so, they're like, get rowdy, they're having fun, they're like, kind of Kichi guy. And she said, oh, can't say that on Japanese radio. I said, cannot say that on Japanese radio. I said, oh, I kind of finished the interview. And so the guy just standing there after the interview was over. I said, what's the deal with the Kichi guy, man? You told me, He goes, I forgot to tell you, it's a dialect changes, so is 400. In Tokyo, it means we're crazy, you're crazy, or whatever. And 400 miles away in another ancient city, it means you are an effing idiot. And there I was, on the radio, telling everybody, oh, they're a bunch of effing idiots, you know? Again, in the middle of the Behind the Music show, and the music stopped.
The 38 special. Kichi guy became their downfall.
Yeah.
Music was no more. So
Well, the guy was no more. So.
Okay. Yeah, exactly. So I want to get to your questions real quick. So ready, but the I don't want to get into a cultural difference because the world is a little bit more global nowadays, and everybody kind of has the same affect, the same sort of reaction, I think, to pop music in general. But to look out, Cheap Trick had the same issue when they went to the Budokan.
Yeah.
Late 70s, we didn't know them. They go over there, and all the young female Japanese fans singing every song because they had little prep sheets.
Yeah.
But you look out, I think, and see of Americans or Westerners, and think, you know, they're singing my song, Hold On Loosely, but to see people from another culture singing your lyrics, is that weird, fabulous, or the universality of music, I guess?
That's a beautiful thing, man. Yeah,
You love rock and roll over there just as much.
Absolutely, everybody's
I don't like K-pop, but they like rock and roll.
You don't like K-pop?
I know I do. Yes, no, where's the camera?
We're leaving.
To my younger audience, I love K-pop. BTS, give me some butter. Oh my God. I think that's the song. Okay, we got a question. I'm hip to the tip talk. My daughter doesn't understand I'm saying that ironically when I say words like groovy and, you know, it's ironic. I'm getting back to the 60s. She says, you sound so old-fashioned. Then I go, the TikTok. And she goes, the TikTok. Yes, sir.
Yes, hi.
Man.
When I was a teenager, I was quite enthralled with this cover for Wild Night Southern Boy.
Yeah.
So, no pun intended, but what's the backstory?
Okay.
For those who can't see it in the back, there's a woman on the cover.
Just the hot pants.
Her derriere
Deep
is showing.
shorts, yeah.
You've been carrying that around for a couple of days now, haven't you? It's tough.
I hate to tell you, but that's the original drummer.
Hey, what's in an appearance, you know? A new day. It's a new day. It's the 80s. We don't judge.
The backstory is that it's the artist's daughter. She stood and modeled for him as he painted that.
That's even worse.
It is.
You pervy.
Yeah.
That we don't allow on the cruise. Got my daughter here. You know Lover Boys, Get Lucky, Red Pants? You know the story of that was the photographer's daughter.
Oh,
Because Mike Reno certainly could not fit into those tight pants maybe back then. But she was 14 and had a slim figure, and the only wardrobe pants they had were that. It fit on the
That's what it
cover.
called.
This is story behind every cover
Yeah.
of every album.
Well, if you notice on that cover, we were with A&M Records, and we were trying to kind of break free of just the image of just Southern rock. We were trying to be an American rock and roll band. But they put every symbol on there with the beer can and the bar, you know, and all of us lined up there with the pickup truck with the Cadillac behind it and all that. So, to be honest with you, we hated that cover. And, you know, so subsequent album covers we weren't real crazy about. But they had an art department and we didn't have much say against that.
To that point about how you guys morphed and went beyond just a Southern rock and roll band. I mean, one, it was just way smart. I don't think you were trying to become more mainstream and more commercial, but it was so much accessibility, while even I related to your Southernness, to that it could be in a honky-tonk somewhere kind of thing, or the straight-ahead rock and roll of it, but to have so many people mainstream in the Western world singing songs that honored your roots, but at the same time were more accessible.
Well, we knew at the time it was the turn of that decade, and the Southern rock was pretty much 70s, so it was kind of waning at the time. And so we were big fans of the arena rock guys, Boston and Bad Company and ZZ Top and everybody. And so we took advice from Ronnie Van Zant. He was kind of a mentor for the band. He was about 5 years older than us. And we were just really copying. When we first started out, we were copying what became before us. So he said, stop trying to be a clone of everything you've heard. Put your own heart, put what makes you, well, your influences, what makes your heart sing. And so we took that to heart. We realized we were more melody-oriented, Beatles, British Invasion. And so we stripped everything away and restyled it because we wanted to be in the arenas. We wanted that 80s kind of thing. So that was a big change for us.
Well, I thought it was brilliant. I thought it was great. I mean, guys, kids from Jacksonville chaining up a car engine block. Yesterday, all my troubles seem so far. That's what made your heart sing. All right. See how it works? Alan's behind the music now. Story. Someone was up here, I think, but I'll take this young lady right here.
I live on the south side of Jacksonville. I saw your band the very first time, Super Bowl weekend.
Oh God, you were there.
Fantastic.
1976.
So from Jacksonville, just outside, saw him at the Super Bowl.
It was a Gator Bowl. You're talking about
Gator Bowl?
I thought it was a Super Bowl.
Yeah, that was soccer.
It was the
Basketball? I don't know.
It was.
You guys were playing Jacksonville this season.
Oh, that one. That was out.
Translate for us. And was that a question, or you just being a fan? Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh, nice.
It was outside the stadium. I forgot.
But I was wondering, what was the inspiration for teacher? Did somebody have a heart for the teacher or what?
Oh, are you?
The inspiration for teacher, she asked.
Well, A&M Records had a subsidiary, A&M Films, and we were always the rock band that would do the movie songs. We had a lot of movie songs. Revenge of the Nerds, all those, we were all. And the movie was called Teachers, and they wanted of course, a theme song from that. But Bryan Adams and Jim Balance and co-wrote that. I think it was with, was it Pat Benatar or somebody? Anyway, it was submitted to us, and we recorded that song in one afternoon. We were on tour, and the funniest part about it, you'll hear a little echo on my voice. I had a little argument with the producer because he didn't want to put this, just when I thought I finally learned my lesson, well. He did not like that. He said, that's something you're going to regret for these years to come. So we had a little falling out about it, but it was an afternoon, and we were so used to playing the arenas where you could hear that natural echo repeat out there. So I like that live sound, And so, it is on the record. We settled it, but, and
Stuck to your guns and the
to
echo
this
stayed.
day, I still love it. So, Rodney Mills, wherever you are.
You went to the bank on that one, buddy. A little bit of echo, millions of dollars.
That's right.
Thank you for being a teacher, by the way. Good on you.
Yeah.
Anybody up and around here? I'm just trying to get around, but you, sir? Are you the guy with the cover of the album? Oh my God.
What was the first big arena that you played in, and who did you play with?
First big arena gig, and who did you play with?
So
What old did you got the holes with the other? I'm translating.
So we had played, we were playing clubs all the time, and it's on a stage half the size of this. And we were so used to huddling around, being that close to each other, that that's the way we felt like it. And again, the spotlights and all those, when you get on a big stage, you're blinded by everything. It's hard to see out there. But anyway, it was 1976. I got a manager, and he had known someone that was managing Peter Frampton. And Peter Frampton became the largest artist in the world that year. And so we were this unknown band, but we were out on this 85-foot stage where we're all huddled around the center. We didn't realize you got to spread out and kind of take it to them. So that was one of the first few times that arena rocked.
Well, and then there was the Stones, and forget who else you opened up for that was of that level.
our manager, we went through several managers. You talk about band members and managers, more interchangeable. But we finally got with Peter Rudge. He was Leonard Skinner's manager, and he was taking us on as kind of a junior band. And he had an office there right on 57th Street, and big vaulted loft office. And we were like, nervous young guys. First time we ever been on a plane, get to New York. And we went to, I went upstairs to a little breakfast room and to get coffee or something. I walked around the corner and it's Mick Jagger sitting there in a chair. It's like, to me, it was, that was crazy.
And all you guys wanted was just to hit the craft service table. It's like, damn, better than peanut butter sandwiches.
Yeah, oh yeah.
Love this world. New level. We got just a couple of more questions time here. Anybody else? Yes, ma'am. Hey, would you hold that back up again? I got the back. Oh yeah, well, you two, and they're in the back, and they're in the back, and they're in the back. Hold, okay, back, go ahead. Then you're coming next. First time you heard the song on the radio. It's the appropriate time in the show for that question to come up. Let's go. And how much did you make from it? We just want to know facts. First paycheck? Want this microphone? Come on up. First buy. Wow.
Purchase. Probably a car that didn't break.
So were you in a car at home listening to the radio and you heard your song?
Oh, on the radio? We were in Jacksonville, we were local guys, and we all went to the radio station there. And it was, of course, back in vinyl days where they put the needle on there. And so we're all gathered around. This is it, guys. This is easy. Coming up after this, we're going to first debut song, 38 Special New Band, Jacksonville's own. And he puts a needle on there, and it skipped. It started. So that was kind of
that song sucks. That's a stupid song.
Yeah, it started.
It was so modern at the time, though. Boy, that was scratching. You were the early DJs, 38 Special DJs. What did you first purchase with a decent paycheck when you allowed yourself to spend over $1,000 or something?
All those things trickle in. It's not like all of a sudden you open a door and a bunch of cash falls on you. It's all, you get a little trickle in. Record companies don't want to release any real money to you. You know this story. So, they'll just give you, you can sell 1 million records and say, well, we're only going to pay you on 20,000 records this quarter of the year. Well, why not? But they want to hold it so it earns interest for them before they pay you,
Well, there's a thing in the acting world where if you have a good audition, you might go buy a couch. It's called an audition couch. Didn't get the gig, and the wife's going, really? You're going to buy the couch? That was a good audition, honey. But for you, the money does trickle in. You can't buy anything right off the bat. So over here, I said yes.
First off, congratulations on 50 years.
Oh, yeah, 50 years. Thank you.
What all of us are saying in this photo.
Any specific plans for this year?
Actually, and next year is going to be the official 50th because in 1974 we were right at the very end of the year. We were just kind of, again, broke guys trying to find some shack to rehearse in, but not everybody was there.
Last year? Was this last year, did you say? No.
Yeah.
50 years ago.
But we have a legacy package coming out next year, 50th anniversary. All the big hits over the years, and we are taking some time for about 5 or 6 new songs on this legacy package. So all that'll be next year, so at the 50th.
So, when guys like you say you're creating new music and you're still got the juices flowing, that means you guys got to show up early for sound check, right?
They're all
rehearse,
they're all
write, or
we're all.
Where do you write these new songs?
Man, I'm in my room with a keyboard and a guitar, so That's what I've been doing. We're all working on it. All these guys are excellent musicians. I'm not humble. These guys are legends and kings. Let me tell you, it makes me look better.
Well, that is the beauty of having new blood in the family over the years. Is what they bring to you. A lot of bands have created new music on the new blood that's come in, and I'm just glad that you're still creating 6 new songs from 38 Special. How good could that be? Come on, that's great.
Yeah, 2025 will be the official 50th.
We'll look ahead to the 50 there. Anybody over here? Yes? No? Okay? Yes? Oh yeah. Another Jacksonville, Florida person here. How many people do we have from Jacksonville?
All right.
The Jacksonville Cruise. And where did you go to high school?
High school? Yes, Forest High School. Nathan Bedford Forest. They call it West Side High School now.
And do they have kids that they'll
have
admit to?
A son, no, in the business, but well, no, he goes to Villanova University, just turned 21. And I have an older son, he's 50 something now. He's almost as old as I am, so he's catching up to me. Yeah. What's you?
Look what drugs does to you. I think my son is my grandpa. Boat rocking. Are we drunk again? The good thing, it is odd to see the waves. I feel like we're underwater right there. You see that shit? That's like nerve-wracking. Have you got drunk foot? Anybody suffered the drunk foot when you're walking down the hallway? Whoa, what happened to that foot? Not me.
Well, Barry brought a roll of paper towels with him. I think if the boat sprung a leak, he's all set.
That the boat springing a leak or something else? Somebody else. 50 years, for God's sake. Give us a break. Let's all go easy on ourselves. One more. Do we have time for one more? Yeah, come on. One more question, please. Oh, up here.
So how did the idea of 2 drummers come into play? I just remember seeing the video.
Yeah.
Much younger.
2 drummers.
The Allman Brothers. That's where it came from. Yeah.
Yeah, there were several groups at the time. Allman Brothers and Grateful Dead. Doobie Brothers had 2 drummers. Steve Brookins was an old friend from junior high school. Donnie Van Zandt had played in earlier bands with him. And Jack Ronan, we found him. We actually were looking for another guitar player. Donnie and I drove out to Atlantic Boulevard in Jacksonville, some guy's house, and we were checking out this guitar player. And it's like, well, we didn't really like him, but man, that drummer was strong. We were like trying to make him sneak out of the house, want to talk to him for a little bit. And we told him, we said, we've got this other guy, but we'd like to have you too. And so, we're going to really commit to this and show up for rehearsal. Nobody's going to be slacking. We're going to take this thing serious and go all the way. So we ended up with 2 drummers, and they added so much more power. And I got to say, they say that hearing damage comes from mostly cymbals, big high frequencies. So Donnie had 2 drummers back there crashing cymbals as hard as they could. So he probably suffered from that. But anyway, that was what we liked about the fact they could mirror each other. And playing clubs, people were like, you got small stages, well, we got 2 drummers, so.
More was better back then, wasn't it?
Right.
Now we do with a little bit less. I cannot thank you much. We got to move it on because we got a boat schedule. Please, a big hand to a band that will be playing